Let's dig even deeper tonight. Joining me now is Janet Napolitano. She was the Homeland Security Secretary from 2009 to 2013, now teaching at UC Berkeley as a professor in the Goldman School of Public Policy. Madam Secretary, thank you for being here. Something stuck with me a few years ago when you and I talked, and you said a good DHS secretary needs a dark imagination. When it comes to Afghanistan at this point, Taliban now reasserting control, the Taliban being the Taliban basically, what do you imagine or anticipate coming out of there?
Well, I think we're already beginning to see the Taliban being the Taliban and being version 1.0, despite their protestations that they had modernized or moved forward. So I think we need to be concerned about that. I think we need to be concerned about Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. And we need to be assessing the risks using our dark imagination about what could happen in the homeland, among other things.
When we saw the withdrawal from Afghanistan, you know the critiques all too well of how that went last month. But a lot of people said that the real danger is going to be that we're not going to have good intel on the ground. Do you see that posing a risk to us here at home?
Perhaps, but it's certainly a risk with respect to what's going on in Afghanistan, because being able to have that human intelligence, being able to, I think even General Milley this morning said that that would have been important for the Department of Defense to have been able to appreciate how rapidly the Afghan military would dissolve when the United States announced its intent to withdraw. So I don't think we need to live in fear, but we need to live in a state of preparation.
Domestic safety. DHS, your purview, you used to read these, I'm guessing, 18 hours a day, these reports. The FBI just revealed we're not hit historic highs, but we've seen a rapid increase when it comes to violent crime and homicides in this country. I should say property crime is down, but let me read a few numbers here to you. 2020 over 2019, murders and homicides up 29%. And by the way, they're still going up even more in 2021. Aggravated assaults up 12%. Violent crime up 6%. What do you think is driving that?
I don't think we know what all is going into those numbers, but they certainly give cause for grave concern. One of the things I noticed about the numbers is that homicide rates increased across the country. It wasn't restricted just to big urban areas as it was in the 90s when homicide rates were so high, higher indeed even than today. But violent crime has gone up in small towns and medium-sized towns, in rural areas, urban areas. Maybe it's some relationship to the pandemic and people being shut in and the economy being shut down. Maybe it's related to the increase in gun purchases that we've seen over the last couple of years. I think when we unpack those numbers, we're going to identify a number of possible causations.
Policing seems crucial, and this is a really active conversation right now. We know there's friction between police and some communities in major cities, but Vox just rounded up a lot of the research that's out there in the past few years, and they put out 6 research surveys. This comes from the National Bureau of Economic Research. Quote, each additional police officer abates approximately 0.1 homicides in per capita terms. Effects are twice as large for black versus white victims. So again, many times what we're seeing, the hotspots are typically in major urban centers. What should we do about policing?
I think we need to kind of, in a way, step back and reimagine the fundamentals of policing. What does good policing do? Good policing both prevents crime where it can and then reacts to and investigates crime after it has already occurred. It has both functions. But it also is a huge community resource, and it needs to be connected with the communities that it serves. And I think in a way that's where policing in the United States has broken down. That the policing has become kind of too isolated. We've gotten away from the notion of community policing that was so widespread in the 90s. And we need to diversify our police forces. I think that's a factor that needs to be put into the calculus, as it were.
Something I've thought about over the past few years is something that happened about a decade ago that you were involved in. There was this report coming out, I believe, while you were DHS Secretary, saying that we should be concerned about right-wing extremism growing. I think there was a mention of maybe some troops coming back and you know, being in a really bad way and turning to something that's too extreme. Looking back on that, to see some of these reports that have been issued recently saying right-wing extremism is a threat, do you feel like you were right?
Oh, yes. We were right then, and we should be concerned now, because I think what we've seen is domestic extremism grow in terms of the number of groups, in terms of the membership of the groups. I think we've seen social media be an accelerant and a connector between those who hold extremist views, who live in different parts of the country. I think if I were the Homeland Security Secretary today, I'd have it right at the top of my list.
At the top, I was going to ask you, how would you divvy it out as far as resources? Because this conversation we were just having, you know, not many people are worried about the Proud Boys busting through your door and killing you. It's usually, you know, the 15 to 30-year-old guy who has a weapon and nothing to lose who's going to kill you. So how would you divvy up resources?
Well, yeah, you know, you have to set priorities, and in terms of homicide, those are generally viewed as local crimes, and they're dealt with local police departments. The Department of Homeland Security, it's federal, and it's not designed to operate as a police department does. It's designed to help collect intelligence, share intelligence, train, do those sorts of things.
Secretary Janet Napolitano, thank you so much for your time, your perspective, really great insight.
Thank you.